In 1991, a young filmmaker from South Central LA told a story Hollywood had ignored for decades. Boyz n the Hood wasn't just another movie. It was the truth millions needed to hear. Its unknown cast would become household names overnight, but success brought unexpected consequences. For some, fame led to glory. For others, to scandal and tragedy. The film changed how America saw an entire community. But the real story, what happened to the people who made it, has never been fully told until now. It was the summer of 1991, and audiences witnessed something they'd never experienced. Boyz n the Hood, a gritty, unflinching look at life in South Central Los Angeles, didn't just open to theaters. It burst like a culture bomb. Directed by 23-year-old John Singleton, the movie followed the lives of three buddies, Trey, Ricky, and Doughboy, through their journey from boyhood to manhood in a world where gunshots were as common as birdsong. With its indelible performances by Cuba Gooding Jr., Morris Chestnut, and rapper-turned-actor Ice Cube, along with veteran Laurence Fishburne, the movie did something unprecedented. It humanized a people who had been viewed by mainstream media only as crime statistics and police chases. Critics were stunned. The public was emotionally disturbed. Hollywood was permanently changed, but the true story was only just beginning. Before Boyz n the Hood was a cultural sensation, it was nothing more than an idea in the mind of an undergraduate student. John Singleton wrote the script while he was at USC's highly respected film school, only miles away, but light years away, from the South Central Los Angeles community in which he had raised himself. When the studios expressed interest in his script, they bullied to pair him with a seasoned director. Singleton's response was adamant. "Nobody can tell this story but me." At 22, with no feature films on his resume, he stood firm against the Hollywood moguls twice his age. It was a gamble that paid off. Columbia Pictures eventually caved, and Singleton became the youngest director in history to direct a major studio feature at the time. His salary? A modest $100,000, less than most Hollywood directors, but Singleton wasn't doing it for the money. He was doing it for the truth. Singleton's devotion to authenticity extended even to his casting. When he sought to cast the pivotal Doughboy, he pursued Ice Cube, a rapper rather than an actor, but one whose raunchy rhymes with NWA already had made him infamous in American living rooms. Industry professionals thought it was crazy. Ice Cube was completely new to acting. On top of that, his public image as a member of NWA had attracted criticism in huge numbers. Their album, Straight Outta Compton, had been criticized by politicians and even the police. The FBI even sent them a warning letter due to their track, "F the Police." But Singleton saw something in Cube that the others did not: raw charisma and life experience to do Doughboy justice. For the titular role of Trey Styles, the emotional core of the film, Singleton hired Cuba Gooding Jr., a comparatively inexperienced young actor with only a few TV credits to his name. Morris Chestnut, just out of college and with even less on his resume, got the part of Ricky. And for Furious Styles, the father of Trey, Singleton hired Laurence Fishburne, already well-regarded but still far from the ubiquitous star he soon would be. On-location danger. If studio executives were apprehensive beforehand, the actual filming only made them more anxious. Singleton would not compromise on shooting on location in South Central. Not on sound stages or alternative neighborhoods costumed to look the part. The danger was real. On set, the circle of actual gunfire would interrupt shooting from time to time. One day especially is memorable. A member of a local gang wandered onto the set. Instead of causing chaos, he offered to guard the crew, recognizing the worth of the story being told. Cast members later revealed that they had the sense of responsibility. It was not just another movie. This was their people's story told by one of their own people. Ice Cube, who had spent his life living a stone's throw away from where the movie had been filmed, referred to it as holding up a mirror to our everyday life. Debut and impact. When Boyz and the Hood kicked off the 1991 Cannes Film Festival, the applause lasted almost 10 minutes, but its ultimate test lay in American movie houses. The movie's opening weekend was marred by violence at many theaters across the country, leading national media to question whether the film itself was responsible for trouble. Singleton reacted strongly, pointing out that the isolated incidents represented a tiny percentage of showings and implying that to blame the film was an attempt to discredit its message. Despite, or perhaps because of its controversy, people saw it. Costing only $6.5 million to produce, Boyz and the Hood went on to gross nearly $60 million domestically. Its detractors were no less enthusiastic. Roger Ebert called it one of the best American films of the year. The Academy took notice, too, by nominating Singleton for Best Director and Best Original Screenplay, making him both the first African-American and youngest nominee in history for Best Director. But as their crew and cast raised a glass to their hit premiere, they couldn't have had any idea that their adventures following Boyz would be equally dramatic, if not always in ways they'd wish. Ice Cube, from rapper-actor to cultural icon. Of all the movie's breakout stars, maybe none navigated more personas than Ice Cube. His performance as Doughboy was praised as natural and powerful, but put him in a dilemma. Both a tough-talking rapper dishing out hard truths about police and institutional racism, and now a Hollywood player embraced by middle America. In 1992, a year after Boyz, the Los Angeles riots erupted following the Rodney King verdict. Ice Cube found himself in the midst of a media storm. His solo debut, Death Certificate, with tracks like Black Korea, was condemned by some as racist. Others stuck up for him as simply documenting the tensions which had long simmered through South Central. The row escalated when NWA manager Jerry Heller brought a hefty defamation lawsuit against Cube over lyrics in which Heller was supposedly slandered. Though ultimately settled out of court, the court fight heightened the high stakes of Cube's dual personality. Meanwhile, however, Cube's own acting career flourished. He co-starred and co-wrote the 1995 comedy Friday, now a cult classic, then followed it up with roles in such films as Higher Learning, Three Kings, and the Barbership series. He made it work on more family-oriented fare with the Are We There Yet series, becoming one of the most dependable box office draws in Hollywood. Most recently, Cube made headlines in 2020 with his contract with Black America, a proposal that was both embraced and criticized for the way he pitched it to different political groups. Amidst all of these controversies, Cube has remained an independent voice, informing one interviewer, "I'm not for a party, I'm for the people." Cuba Gooding Jr., Rise and Fall. Boyz and the Hood was only the beginning of a meteoric rise for Cuba Gooding Jr. 5 years hence, he won an Academy Award as football player Rod Tidwell in Jerry Maguire, delivering one of the most iconic Oscar acceptance speeches in history. But Hollywood careers rarely follow a straight line. By the early 2000s, Gooding's film choices were being criticized increasingly. For every dramatic performance in films like Men of Honor, there were 2 in broad comedies that were universally panned. Then came a far more ominous detour. Beginning in 2019, Gooding was charged with several counts of sexual misconduct by more than 30 women, with incidents alleged to have occurred between 2001 and 2018. In 2022, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of forcible touching at a New York City bar, avoiding jail but taking a plea that required him to continue alcohol and behavior modification treatment. The scandal was a humiliating descent from grace for a once lionized actor so admired for his charm and levity. His story was an eye-opening cautionary tale on how quickly it is possible in Hollywood for fortunes to reverse, how behavior which previously might have been dismissed as partying had truly come under more intense scrutiny following the Nasr Me Too era. Morris Chestnut, the steady success. Unlike some of his co-stars, Morris Chestnut's post-Boyz career has been remarkably stable and scandal-free. His character, Ricky's tear-jerking death scene, is still cinema's most devastating moment, but Chestnut was not to be typecast. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, he had a solid career with starring roles in films exploring Black life and relationships, including The Best Man, The Brothers, and Two Can Play That Game. Contrary to most actors who fall apart after an iconic early role, Chestnut successfully transitioned to television with appearances on series like Rosewood and The Resident. In an industry traditionally marked by upheaval, Chestnut's career stands out for its stability and professionalism. He has spoken again and again about the importance of portraying solid, positive Black male figures, a cause he directly attributes to his experience with John Singleton on Boyz. And perhaps most notably, while Hollywood glossies are chock-a-block with stories of actors from his generation, Chestnut's name is rarely one of them. His devotion to family, he's married to the same woman since 1995, and prudent selection of projects have given him something rare in show business: longevity unencumbered by scandal. Laurence Fishburne, from Furious to Morpheus. For Laurence Fishburne, BoyzNTheHood was not a beginning, but a turning middle book in a veteran career. As Furious Styles, he provided some of the movie's greatest lines on gentrification, responsibility, and Black manhood. The role solidified his reputation as an actor of great depth and dignity, earning him his powerful portrayal of Ike Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It in 1993, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award. But even while his career was on the rise, there were also personal issues. In 1993, Fishburne was faced with an unwanted invasion of privacy when a sex tape involving his daughter was released. Though he was not directly involved, the incident caused embarrassing exposure to a man who was well known for maintaining secrecy about his private life. Fishburne handled the issue with characteristic reserve, never discussing it publicly and maintaining his focus on work. His holdback paid off professionally. By 1999, he had cemented his place in film history as Morpheus in The Matrix, a part that introduced him to a new generation of fans. Decades later, he slipped smoothly from blockbusters to indies and prestige TV like Blackish and Hannibal. Now in his 60s, Fishburne remains one of Hollywood's most respected actors, a testament to the power of dignity and professional commitment even in the midst of personal unrest. John Singleton, The Visionary's Odyssey. For the young filmmaker who started it all, BoyzNTheHood was blessing and curse. The film's success created almost unrealistically high expectations for his subsequent effort. Singleton continued to make films about Black life in America, including Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson and Tupac Shakur, Higher Learning, and Baby Boy. None came close to the cultural phenomenon of his initial film, but they continued to solidify his voice as essential to American cinema. Behind the scenes, however, Singleton fought against the Hollywood establishment that both celebrated and constrained him. He complained in public about the industry's refusal to fund Black stories and the tendency to pigeonhole Black filmmakers. Despite these annoyances, he diversified into producing, helping to launch the careers of other directors, and ventured into television with shows like Snowfall. Throughout his career, Singleton also delivered public addresses regarding health concerns affecting the Black community, most notably hypertension, a health concern he had dealt with personally. In a bitter twist of irony, it was this very condition that would bring his life short and tragically. In April 2019, Singleton suffered a debilitating stroke after coming back from a holiday in Costa Rica. After nearly 2 weeks in a coma, he was removed from life support on April 29, 2019. He was just 51 years old. His death sent shockwaves in the movie world and the wider world beyond. Tributes poured in from actors, directors, musicians, and fans whose lives were affected by his work. Ice Cube said that he lost his brother, friend, and mentor, while Janet Jackson said that he was such a kind soul whose presence brought nothing but joy and inspiration. The boy wonder of American cinema was gone, but his record as the film director who paved the way for a whole generation of Black screenwriters stands unrebutted. 3 decades have passed since Boyz n the Hood initially hit theaters, but its potency has not diminished. What began as a cry for help from one young man became something more. A classic of American cinema and a career catalyst for all involved in its creation. For Ice Cube, it was the beginning of a career that would transcend music and filmmaking to become a cultural reference point for good or ill. For Cuba Gooding Jr., it was the beginning of a trajectory that would bring him to Hollywood's pinnacle before a career-destroying downfall. Morris Chestnut found in it the foundation for a career of solid, respected work. And Laurence Fishburne added another excellent page to his already accomplished resume. And for John Singleton, it was debut and declaration, a film that announced not only his arrival, but the arrival of a new kind of American storytelling. Their own individual trajectories, replete with success and disaster, achievement and scandal, mirror the complex truth the film itself portrayed. No neat happy endings here, no convenient resolutions, just life, messy and complex as it is. Now, when we watch Boyz n the Hood, we're not merely watching a movie. We're witnessing an era when American filmmaking was changed forever. When a 23-year-old filmmaker from South Central would not let another person define his community, and in the process, revolutionized how we all perceive the world. For that, John Singleton and the phenomenal cast he assembled are owed more than our accolades. They are owed our focus on the message they so compellingly delivered, that all lives are worth something, all communities have tales worth listening to, and sometimes the most important voices are the ones we've never listened to at all. The story of Boyz n the Hood reminds us that art has power, the power to change minds, open hearts, and sometimes to change the course of lives forever. If this journey through film history resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join our community of cinema lovers. Drop a comment sharing which cast member's story surprised you most, and don't forget to like this video so more people can discover these important stories.